NSDS. The year 2000 saw the birth of sector education and training authorities that will implement the NSDS. The WNR SETA was established in 2000 and its vision is to be the leader in skills development in the country. The SETA has lived up to its vision, which is evident in the success and achievements.
WNR SETA is really humbled by the contribution of our wholesale retail companies, including our key role players, training providers, institutions of learning, and other stakeholders in making skills development a reality in the wholesale and retail sector over the past 20 years. As you would know, 20 years ago when the SETA started, the WNR SETA was established without any single qualification. And today, we can really look back with a sort of a sense of pride on the accomplishment that we've made, and look back with pride of what we have achieved over a period of time. As you would know, that this SETA also did not have any industrial training board, so it means as a SETA we had to start from scratch. So as we reflect on this milestone, we as a SETA really found ourselves on a path where, you know, there was actually nothing, and when we look back, we can then see the trail that we have left with the work that we've accomplished together with our stakeholders. Our achievement really a demonstration of a sector that is being transformed and positioned to remain key contributor to the country's. There is nothing as rewarding as you seeing an employee receiving their first qualification, and that sense of achievement that these young people, you can see it in their faces when they get this qualification and entering a job market. Really, we've also had some really great stories and moments where we've got news about those that have gone through our programs when they get promoted into influential positions. We've celebrated growth also of small businesses and employees starting their own ventures. This has been really the true measure of the impact of our initiative and changing the lives of the ordinary citizens. Economic growth.
The employees of the WNR SETA are the reason the organization was and is still able to implement and carry its mandate with such prowess and meticulousness.
I started with the SETA in 2001, and at that time it was only the 8 of us at the SETA, although some of the functions were outsourced, like your finance department and your IT. When the SETA started, we were established by Deloitte & Touche, so we used to be called DTSS. We only changed to WNR SETA, I think it was around 2003, 2004, when we changed to, and some of the employees that were with Deloitte, they joined WNR SETA. I started as a receptionist, and my journey has been interesting. I remember very well when I started, I had no clue of what the SETA functions were or the mandate. I've never heard of the SETA actually, and unfortunately I didn't have a colleague to lean on, because at that time everybody was busy and it was just managers, and I was the only junior person at the SETA at that time. So in order to educate myself about the functions of the SETA, then I decided to introduce a newsletter, so-called newsletter. I used to call it Timaka, and whereby I would sit with managers every Fridays and go through their week, what the week was, and also what their plans were for the next coming week. That was also to give me an idea of what is expected as well, and also to understand what the functions are. And my role as well at the SETA at that time was to sit and take minutes of the board, not knowing that somebody out there had noticed. And I was later, in about 6 months, offered a position in marketing. And I think I did very well at that time as well. And I was offered also a position in another 6 months as the public relations officer of the SETA. And also what was interesting at that time and encouraging was that the SETA paid for my fees to study public relations. And then then we continued with SETA, and then when we started with the restructuring, I don't remember exactly the year, I think it was around 2008, 2009. Then I was offered a position for Gauteng South, because they were forming regions at that time, and I became the regional coordinator that is handling projects and everything. And to date, I have been promoted as well to be the team leader in the organization.
Human resources are the backbone of any organization and a valuable asset.
Shoprite places huge emphasis on learning and development, and this has been taking place long back before year 2000. Since the introduction of learnership and skills program in year 2000, Shoprite has actively participated and will continue to do so, as this gives the company an opportunity to ensure that we have skilled and qualified employees. As a growing company, that is important for us to ensure that our employees grow with us and also improve on their quality of life and growth prospects.
Skill is a big challenge in our country, and in order for us as retailers to acquire skilled people, it is a mission. People who are available to be employed in the retail sector, they come from different industry, construction industry, government, and that. And from the look point of view, it looks easy to be a shelf packer, and which is not. You know, setting up the shelf is a serious mission. You need to be in the consumer point of view, that you cannot pack different sizes, different brand, different product in one aisle. It needs to flow. So that experience, it needs to be acquired somewhere. And it costs money, but having WNR to assist in training people to be employable in the retail sector, it really helps us a lot.
You know, we started off, training the skills development facilitators of the SETA. We were right there in the beginning. Now, you can appreciate, as the skills development starts with the SDF, that was compile a workplace skills plan, that make a need analysis, there's the job profiling, there's the plan, that is in line, with the business objectives of the company. And from there, the training, would flow forth. So we trained the skills development facilitators of the SETA, and that formed the basis and the foundation from which, the first WSPs were submitted to the SETA. And then we were so privileged, to be involved with the piloting of the very first two qualifications that the SETA had registered at that stage, which was a qualification on NQF level 2, on wholesale and retail processes, and one on operations management on NQF level 5. This we did, those years in 2002, 2003, working in collaboration with Cape College and the Cape Town University of Technology, and then also TrueHIFs, if I remember correctly. People will forgive me, if I forget any other clients, but it's many years ago.
When I started with Shoprite, I was an outsider. I had all of these qualifications related to education and training and development, but nothing in terms of retail. And so when I joined onto that NQF Level 5 learnership, I learned the basic concepts of retail. So starting from merchandising to receiving to shrinkage to scheduling. So all of that I got the theory from the WNR CETA, but the practical from ShopRite. So it definitely was not a step down. It was actually just a side door that opened and took me in a completely different direction in terms of my career. My relationship with the WNR CETA also started in 2004 because there was a partnership with the WNR CETA and ShopRite where we had the NQF Level 5 learnership. So I joined and I was eligible for that program. There were literally 2 of us onto that program that year, and it was in partnership with EduTel. So what happened was ShopRite would provide the practical workplace experience, and we would go 1 week a month to EduTel and get the theory behind it. 8 months into the program, I completed my program and I was promoted to a regional HR manager position. I was a regional HR manager for 4 years, and then an opportunity came up for me to be a divisional HR manager, which is the position I'm currently at. I think in essence, what I can say I've got out of these 2 programs is how to be a better and a more effective manager. With the NQF Level 5, remember I came into ShopRite as an outsider. I had no previous retail experience, and so that was almost a bridging course for me to say, come Fatima, you know, this is what you need to know. If you want a foot in the door in retail, this is what you need to know. So that is what I got from the NQF Level 5 program. From the ILDP program, I know it definitely helped me to be a better manager. So for example, something that we learned when we were at Gibbs was about psychological contracts. So something that says when you are a manager, your job is not necessarily to get the work done through other people, but to stretch and develop your people to get their potential, get them to their best potential. So what I started when I came back here is we engage with psychological contracts, in terms of sitting with the person and say, you in this position now, career development, where is it that you want to get to, and what is it that I'm going to do for you to help you get there? Prior to doing that program, it was something that I was almost unaware of. So I know it's definitely helped me to become a better manager. I think in terms of the reading of income statements and the finance aspect of the business. So in terms of my current position, I mean, staff costs and salary budgets is a very big core component of what we do. And being exposed to the academics of that, of how to make a business profitable, has helped me become a better divisional HR manager. So it's definitely helped me in my current position as well.
The milestones that I can share with you in my journey was that I remember it was around 2003, 2004, where we had a big graduation nationally, and we graduating about, I think it was over 500 learners at the time. And what was close to my heart at that time was seeing the smiles on the learners, and it showed what difference we were making at the time as a CETA. And the other milestone that we achieved as a CETA, it was the relationship we had with one of the stakeholders. It was JD Group, and there were graduating learners living with a disability. It was over 100 learners. It was in 3 provinces. It was in Gauteng, which was the biggest group, and then the other group was in Cape Town, and the other one was in Port Elizabeth, where we're graduating those learners.
EduTel is not only a wholesale and retail provider. We're also one of the leading providers in the ETDP sector. And from that perspective, we also were involved in the training of assessors and moderators, facilitators and course developers, and this all, I'm proud to say, helped to contribute towards, creating, the infrastructure, or the capacity, within the sector in order to deliver on the mandate that the CETA got, to deliver, on the skills development initiative. From there, as far as wholesale and retail training is concerned, we have been involved, in the rolling out of thousands of learnerships, over the 21 years and skills programs. What kind of stands out for me, is the fact, that we were also involved in the piloting of recognition of prior learning, which we are very passionate about. And I think, we've only started, in that regard, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, as far as that is concerned. So we were privilege, to work with Macro, and SPA, in KwaZulu-Natal, in terms of piloting that for the CETA, and updating their toolkit, and so forth. And then, being involved, in the small business practices qualification, that has been rolled out, and headed by Joyce. I think, that is wonderful, to be involved and to see, that the people coming in raw into that program, and then they're being taught how to develop a business plan, how, to register their business and to learn all the skills so that they can go out, and be more successful in their business and eventually becomes employers, of more people. And more needs to be done in that regard. South Africa is hungry, for opportunity. And I think, the informal business sector, really, needs a lot of intention as far as that is concerned, and really contribute handsomely towards addressing, the unemployment problem in South Africa. Yes, that was a great achievement. I can still remember, it was back in 2002. Julia Jones, used to be the ETK manager. There was a different CEO, and when we got word, that we have met the requirements to become, an accredited provider, we had a big function at the Protea Hotel, in Midrand. And we invited all the who's in the CETA, and we had a big party there. And the CEO did a speech, and Julia Jones did a speech, and she handed over the certificate, and that really, was an achievement for us, because we really decided that we want to make a difference in the wholesale and retail sector.
WNR CETA contribution to our business is huge. As I said, 80% of our employees came through the learnership. You look at the tax exemption, that rebate that we get on the basis of 10 million, basis on 200 over a period of 5 years, it has played a role into our cash flow. We fund this business going forward out of our profit. And WNR CETA, in terms of learnership, remember that it, in turn, it minimized the impact of salary bill, because 6 months later, this learnership, they become employee, they got skilled, they've learned, they understand what is expected of them. Other than taking someone from the street, from the construction industry, they'll climb on top of your Rama box and they create damage. But with students from WNR CETA, they definitely add value. And with that in mind, it makes us have ambition to grow in mind, hand in hand with WNR CETA.
On behalf of the ShopRite team, we would like to congratulate the CETA for the job well done over the last 20 years.
We at Edutel just want to congratulate the CETA. It is now 20 years, that the CETA has been in existence. You have done marvelously. You've had, your challenges, but I can tell you one thing, the character of the CETA lies in the fact is what do they do when they are facing challenges? And you have shown character, and the fact that you have shown character, and your leadership has shown character, I know that you've got a bright future ahead of you. Congratulations. Well done, WNR CETA.
The new National Skills Development Plan really presents an exciting opportunities and for collaboration and innovation with all the stakeholders, employers, institutions of learning, and other stakeholders, and it allows us really to expand on some of the groundbreaking and trailblazing initiatives that we have introduced over the past 20 years, but also to review what we have done during that 20 years. As a CETA, really, we are committed to responding to the needs of the sector, and we are looking forward to continue the skills revolution with stakeholders as we journey through the challenging and opportunities that lies ahead. On behalf of the WNR CETA, I wish to extend my gratitude to all our stakeholders for enabling the WNR CETA to execute its mandate, but most importantly for being part of the system that transforms the lives of the people Thank you for being part of the solution to the challenges that we all face as a sector and also as an organization, the SETA. So here is to 2030 and beyond in moving the sector and the organization from being good sector and an organization to greatness.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you and welcome to the Wholesale and Retail SETA webinar for small and medium companies. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, for taking your time off on this chilly Tuesday that feels like a Monday. We really appreciate that you could take the time from your businesses to come and join us, where you will be learning a bit more about the opportunities that the Wholesale and Retail SETA offers to small and medium companies. My name is Martha Shingange and I'm the Head of Marketing here at the Wholesale and Retail SETA. Just a brief introduction to the colleagues who will be with me for this session this morning. I've got Mr. George Mushaiki. George is the Senior Regional Manager for one of our clusters, which comprises of Gauteng North, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. We also have Mr. Mike Muhomu, who is the Provincial Manager for the Mpumalanga Province. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is part of the advocacy programs that the WNR SETA runs each year, whereby we are creating awareness on the opportunities that are available to the companies that fall within the wholesale and retail sector in terms of skills development. Now, with the advent of COVID-19, it means that we have not been able to be out and about on the roads in the various provinces to interact physically with our stakeholder companies. But the good thing, or the silver lining of this pandemic, is that we are now able to use the technological advancements that are available to us to reach out to more stakeholders. So this morning, we are broadcasting to stakeholders throughout the 9 provinces, which is a very, very good thing for us. Now, the program for this morning, it's quite short, but very interactive, and I invite you to engage with us. Please post your comments, questions on the chat box, and we'll be happy to deal with those. The first item on our program this morning will be the overview of the WNR SETA, basically dealing with the who and the what. And George will be taking us through what we are as the WNR SETA, what we offer to our stakeholders. Then we are going to have Mike, who is going to talk to the why and the how. He is going to tell you how you can actually participate on our programs, what is required, and the assistance that we actually provide to companies so that you can be able to take advantage of the opportunities that we are offering to small and medium companies. Then we are going to have testimonials from 2 of our companies, because we really want to get you to have a first-hand experience of the benefits of participating in skills development. And what better way to do that than having people who are already participating on some of our programs. So we've got Dr. Phili Malatsi, who is the Managing Director for Litabo Filling Station in Tembisa, and we've got Janelle Berger, who is the store person, commonly known as a store manager at Fruitco. Then we're going to open up for interaction, where you can post your comments, where we'll be answering your questions. And lastly, we are going to close off the session. So without taking any more time, let me hand over to George to give you the overview of the WNR SETA.
Thanks, Martha. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So as already introduced, my name is George Mushaike. So I'm just going to be taking you through a presentation where I'm just going to share with you what we do as a SETA, why we are here. So without further ado, I'm just going to go into my presentation. So first of all, we are the Wholesale and Retail Sector Education and Training Authority, famously known as WNR SETA. So there are 21 SETAs in the country. So the Sector Education and Training Authorities, each one of us, as a SETA, we deal with a specific sector of the economy. So you find one in tourism and hospitality, you find a SETA in manufacturing, you find a SETA in agriculture and so on. So each of the SETAs has got a specific sector of the economy that they must look after. And we were all established through the Skills Development Act, which was enacted in 1999. So all the SETAs then were established via that act. We also have to comply to all other government acts, such as the PFMA, which is how we manage our monies, etc. So we all have to then abide by those acts that are available to us. So also, as part of my presentation, I'm just going to share with you what then happens, how are we funded, and how you can be able to access this money. So all of our companies that have got a salary bill of more than 500,000 are required to pay what is called a skills development levy. Now, you have to pay 1% of your total salary bill as a levy. So that money comes to us as a SETA. We get about 80% of that money, because the rest of the money then goes to the National Skills Fund. We use then 10% of that money as for our administration. That basically covers things like salaries, like rent for buildings and so on. And then 20% of that money goes back to the company through what we call a mandatory grant. I'm still going to explain that further on. Then we also have the discretionary grant, where we then run programs which we call pivotal programs, basically standing for professional, vocational, technical, and academic learning. So I'm going to be going into detail about what kind of programs as well those are. And then 0.5% of the levies that we receive also goes to the QCTO, which is a Quality Council for Trades and Occupations. So they basically look after the qualifications and so on that we have to deliver to the sector. So quickly, I'm just going to touch on the mandatory grants. So as I indicated, all levy-paying companies must submit what we call an Annexure 2 document every year for you to then be able to access the mandatory grant that I referred to. And there is grant regulations that are available that guides us, and they basically direct us that by the 30th of April each year, these companies must submit those mandatory grants. They must submit the Annexure 2. Because then if you don't submit those Annexure 2 documents, then you cannot access those grants. So basically it means that as a company that is paying, if you don't submit, then you lose out on the funds that are supposed to be coming back to you. So it is very crucial that then you must submit, so that we can then be able to assist you with those grants. So as part of this exercise, we also contract what we call sector liaison officers. These are people that we send out to companies, particularly your small and medium companies. We send them out so that they can come and help you. They can come and assist you, and wherever you struggle, you can also contact our offices. There are people available to assist you particularly with these submissions. But I think Mike will go into further detail in terms of how you submit that information. And as I indicated, you will only receive your mandatory grants once this document is submitted. Because if you don't submit, then you are losing out on the mandatory grants, but you also lose out on the other projects that we fund, for training for your own people. And we're also trying to assist for training for the unemployed people. So we really need you to then make sure that these documents are submitted. Wherever you need assistance, you can get the assistance for you to ensure that you meet the timelines that are provided. And then we also have what we call discretionary grants. As I indicated earlier, there's a 49.5% that we use to fund particularly the pivotal programs that I spoke about. So when you submit then your Annexure 2 document, you can also have access to these projects and programs that I'm referring to. So the process for us then to give you for you to have access to the discretionary grants is that every year we have targets that we set that then gets approved by our board, that gets approved by the Minister of Higher Education and Training, and this then becomes what we call our annual performance plan. So the annual performance plan basically says to us, you need to train so many people in this financial year. And once that is approved, what we then do is that we go out and we advertise to the sector to say, these are the programs that are available for you to apply. Please apply using these various methods, and normally in our advert we'll provide you with the systems and where to apply and so on. So once you apply, then we will then give you the allocations that we give you. So sometimes it's not always that you get the numbers that you are looking for, because what normally happens is that we might have, say, a target of 5,000 people to be trained on learnerships, but then the applications that we receive become overwhelming, and then we don't have money to cover it. But what we try and do is we try and provide and allocate something to everyone who has applied and to everyone who qualifies. So really the crucial part is that you have to submit your application so that we can then give you access. We also have other programs that we do, and there are specific programs that right now we are busy with, where we do training, particularly for your very, very small businesses, even those that are not paying levies. So those small businesses, we run workshops, we come and inform you about what we do. We try also and invite other government institutions such as SARS, your revenue services such as SIDA, so that while you attend our sessions, you learn also that what other means that as a business person can you access, whether it's funding, whether you need assistance with your tax issues and so on. Because I know that many years ago, we all used to be very scared of SARS. But from our learnings these days, SARS are actually here to assist us to make sure that we are in compliance. Because you as a business, if you want to do if you want to do business with government, if you are not compliant with all these requirements, then you cannot access those business opportunities. So we try then and assist also through that process. So what then happens is that once we have received your application, we'll issue the companies that qualify, that have got allocations, we issue them with award letters. These award letters then allow you to go and start working by means of whether it's recruiting learners, registering learners on our system. After that, then we issue with a contract depending on the number of learners that we've managed to get. We then issue with a contract, then your training can start. Our payments will only be made after we have signed a contract with you. So there has to be a contract in place, but that contract is also based on the number of learners that you have recruited, and then your training commences. So really most of the programs that we run with are mainly your learnerships. Your learnerships it's basically a full qualification that normally runs for a period of it can be anything from 12 to 18 months. But we normally make a provision, because a learnership is supposed to run for 12 months, but we normally make a provision for, say, another 6 months for people to be able to do their assessments, to do their moderation, etc., so that at the end of it all, the learners can then receive their certificates. We also run skills programs. These are your shorter programs, not a year. It can be anything from a month to 2 months to 4 months. But these are your shorter programs, so that it becomes a focused program that you say, this individual only needs a customer service skill, so that when they are in the store, we know that they can do the work, but they might not be able to deal with people. So it becomes a particularly focused, so we call it a skills program, because it just addresses a particular need. We also have a recognition of prior learning, where you have people who have been working for many years. They've got the experience, they've got the skills, but they don't have the paper to show. So this then assists them to make sure that they are able to then get their certificates based on the experience that they have. We also provide bursaries for both employed people and unemployed people. So those are the programs that we've got available. We also have graduate placements and internships. So the graduate placements, these are basically meant for those people who have completed their qualification via universities and so on, but they are not able to find employment. So what we then do with those young people is that we'll bring them into a workplace where we provide stipends so that they can just get the workplace experience. You can just imagine that you are looking for a job and they tell you that you need to have 5 years experience or 2 years experience, but you have never worked in your life. So this then, the graduate placement really are aimed at saying, let's put them in the workplaces, and obviously with the hope that they might even get employed in that process. But if they are not employed, then but at least they can now go and look for jobs elsewhere because we have given them the exposure. Then we also have internships. Internships really are for the students who are already in our institutions, but part of the studies requires them to go and do some workplace exposure. Now, if they don't have that exposure, then it means they can't get their qualification. So we are always pleading with our stakeholders to say, please give these young people the opportunity to come and work, but we provide stipends so you don't have to worry about whether you have to pay them and so on, because we are then providing the money for that. So you give them the exposure so that when they are done, they can go back to the institution and then be able to get their qualifications. So these are part of the programs that we do. There's quite a whole lot more that we do with our stakeholders, but I just thought let me touch on these particular ones because these are part of what you can apply for after you have submitted your Annexure 2. So we also have entrepreneur development programs that we also do. And as you can understand, these ones will be targeted on those people who might already be having a business. It might not be doing well. You need guidance. You need support. So we do those kinds of programs. We also do cooperative support, where we support those cooperatives that are within our sector. We also look at community-based organizations, your NGOs, your NPOs. We also support those. We also understand that our sector, we have got trade unions, so we do programs that are particularly targeted at trade unions, so that there is development within the business. And we also do SME support. I think I had already spoken about that. These are programs that we support our small businesses through various means. It can be training. We are even looking at programs that can also provide infrastructural support where possible. So we also work through our small businesses because really what we want to see is development. So I think through the implementation of some of these programs, one of the biggest challenges is that we have got a lot of companies that are paying levies to us, but they are not submitting the Annexure 2 documents. So you can imagine what then happens is that that money then stays with us. And if we don't spend that money on projects or by giving it back to companies, then it might even go to National Treasury. So it is money that belongs to the sector, and we really want the sector to benefit. So let us assist you, let us help you to make sure that you can access this money. And by accessing this money, you can develop your own employees. And by developing your own employees, we are seeing in our view that you develop your business. You are growing your business. So really, we need you to then submit those documents. And then what happens also is that in most cases, we find ourselves having received those Annexure 2 documents, but they are then non-compliant. And then it takes us forever to be able to fix them, which means we can't approve. And if we can't approve, you will not receive your grants. We also experience delays excuse me, in the implementation of the training programs that we offer. So if you are participating in our programs, it is then important that once you are part of the programs, if you're struggling, you contact our offices. They will assist you to ensure that the implementation happens smoothly and you won't have such challenges. We also do monitoring during the implementation of these programs, where we'll come out to your workplaces. We will support you to show you if you are experiencing any challenges. Then we assist you to ensure that the smooth running of such programs. We have experienced delays in our payment processes, but we are busy correcting that. We have also had system challenges because we have had to move from one system to another. But now our system is up and running. So if you are going to be participating in our programs, we do workshops where you can come and participate so that we show you how to work on our systems, what needs to be submitted, and what needs to be submitted by when. I think my presentation ends there. Thanks, Mother.
Thank you so much, George. I think as stakeholders can see, there's definitely something for everyone. So whether you're joining us, you happen to be unemployed and looking for opportunities, or you're running your own business, there's definitely something that you can actually benefit from the WNR-SETA. And George, maybe just to contextualize the problem that we have with the issue of companies not participating. Now, the numbers, we've got over 19,000 companies that are actually paying levies with us. And that is from the over 100,000 companies, because wholesale and retail sector, it's quite big, you know, and when we talk about our sector, we're talking about, we're not only focusing on your Woolworths and your Truworths, those which are our biggest companies, but the mama on the street who's selling sweets, the spaza shop, those are part of our companies. So overall, there are over 100,000 of those companies that are within us. So these are the companies that we have to make sure that somehow we actually assist. And from those companies, there are 19,000 companies that are actually paying levies to us. So now these are companies that have a wage bill of over 500,000 annually. Now the problem is that we only have 56% of those companies that are participating. So 19,000 companies are making payments every single month, but only 56%, and that is about 7,232 that are actually coming back to claim the money. Now, you know, many companies, they don't like it when you come and knock, you know, and asking for your money. But here we are as a SETA to say to the rest of the companies to say, hey, we've got money, please come and get your money. I mean, how odd is that? You know, most of the companies, they want to keep, you know, the monies for other things. But here we are saying to our companies, please come and take advantage. This is your money, as you have indicated, George. The money does not belong to us, and we need to make sure that it assists companies, because when you have a skilled workforce, then you're more profitable. And when you're more profitable, you're able to get more people into your company. We've got a whole lot of challenges in our country, such as unemployment. But if we have companies that are doing well, they can actually employ more people. So it's very, very important that companies actually participate in this process. So thank you so much for that overview, George. Now I'm going to hand over to Mike, who is going to be focusing more on the how part. How do companies actually participate on the processes? So over to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martha Shingange, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation will actually focus on the practical aspects on how do we go about receiving the workplace skills plans from companies. So in other words, the presentation will actually focus on the modalities that govern the submission of the workplace skills plan or the annexure 2 documents. So, but I think it's important for me to also reflect on what is the vision and mission of the wholesale and retail SETA. Our vision is to be the leader in skills development in the country. And of course, our mission is to develop a skilled, capable, competent and professional workforce to transform the wholesale and retail SETA. And definitely you'll see during the subsequent part of my presentation how does this vision and mission get traction in the submission of the workplace skills plans. And of course, how to submit an extra document is very key, because this process governs the process that relates to the submission of the actual documents that helps companies to participate in our activities as the wholesale and retail SETA. And of course, it's important to mention that, you know, the entire process is online. So as a starting point, it's important for companies to always keep in mind that, you know, the submission of the training plans is done online on the wholesale and retail SETA management information system. We normally refer to that system as the MIS system. So it's important to go to the SETA website, which is www.wrseta.org.za. So you need to log on to the MIS system to register online to obtain your username and password. So of course, as an SDF, you go to the system, you make sure that you register your details on that particular system, and then that system will actually allow you to be able to obtain your username and your password as well. So as an SDF, you'll be able to link your levy number to your own profile on the SETA system. So obviously, once you've been able to register yourself on the system, then obviously you'll be able to have your own username and password. Then you'll definitely be able to access the documents online And then you will definitely be able to start capturing various types of information like your employment profile and your training plan in terms of what is the type of training that is going to be required in the organization. And of course, it's important to always mention that, for small companies and medium companies, we also appoint sector liaison officers. So these are the consultants that are experts in the industry to make sure that, they can be able to visit these companies to support them in terms of making sure that, they can be able to understand the essence of participating in skills development. So all our SLOs rather are actually based in all the 10 provinces to ensure that, they can be able to support our companies to submit their workplace skills plans. And again, as I mentioned, these SLOs are industry experts who can actually do the skills needs analysis and a skills prioritization in making sure that, they can help our companies to submit their training plans. And of course, as we speak right now, all the provincial offices of the SETA are currently embarking on capacity building sessions to ensure that, we can be able to develop our SDFs so that, they can be able to understand the requirements so far as the submission of the Annexure 2s or the workplace skills plan is concerned. In terms of the process, again, regarding the submission of the workplace skills plan, the quantity of data that is captured also confirms the percentage of work that you do on the system. So in other words, if you capture the information on the system, it will actually confirm the percentage of work that you've actually covered so far as the submission of the information is concerned. So in other words, the 100% status on your workplace skills plan will definitely confirm that, your training plan is ready for submission. This means the SDF can be able to press the submit button to ensure that, this Annexure 2 documents is submitted on our online system. So in other words, the number of employees that the SDF confirms on the system will automatically generate the correct signature page that will be signed by the SDF and the senior official in the company. So again, for small companies, only 2 signatures are required on that particular signature page. So the SDF will sign the signature page together with the senior official in the organization. But of course, for medium and large companies, the SDF, the employee representative, and the CEO of the company are actually required to ensure that, they sign off and authorize the training plan that is going to be submitted to the SETA. It's always important to mention, ladies and gentlemen, that, the signed signature page must be loaded on the SETA system before the 30 April 2021. A signed bank letter must also be loaded on the SETA system as well. And we always emphasize that, no late submissions will be accepted after the 30th of April 2021. Moving further afield, I think it's also important to reflect on the potential benefits that companies can get from their submission of the Workplace Skills Plan. Of course, it's always important to reflect that, the Skills Levies Act of 1999 prescribe that companies with a payroll of 500,000 or more are liable to pay 1% of their skills levies to SARS. Through the grant regulations, companies that submit their Workplace Skills Plan to the SETA are eligible to get 20% of their mandatory grants if they meet the SETA criteria. Again, in terms of the regulations, companies can be able to access various pivotal programs as outlined by my colleague earlier on. Companies that implement learnerships can also claim tax rebates from SARS. And again, we also mentioned that, companies can also participate in various types of activities to ensure that, they can be able to take as many young people as possible to participate in various types of programs that we have in the organization. Again, the SETA also supports stakeholders who are participating in our learning programs through the PPE grants that are actually used to be able to address the issues of COVID-19 and other related matters relating to the pandemic. And that brings me to the end of my presentation, Martha. Thank you.
Okay, so another short and sweet one. So, Mike, I think maybe it's also quite important that we outline or just we inform our stakeholders that, there's much more to benefit than what they're actually contributing. So, for example, if I'm operating my own business and I decide to apply for a bursary to do my MBA. I mean, an MBA is quite expensive, right? Could be about 250,000 rands. And as a SETA, you decide that, in terms of the plan, we have planned as a SETA that we're going to put 50 people through an MBA, and you happen to select me. So that's actually, I'm getting a whole lot more than what I've actually paid in. Is that correct? So wow. So I can be making a contribution of 2,000 rand, and chances are I can then be funded for that year for 50,000 rands to go and do my MBA. That's a giveaway, right?
Well, the reality is that there is no limitation in terms of the number of programs that you can do as an employer. In actual fact, you get more than the actual levy.
Exactly.
You contribute to SARS.
Exactly. So I don't see any reason why any company is not part of the system. But yeah, reality is that we have about 48% of companies that are not participating, and that's why we are making this plea to say, please come into the system. There is more to gain. There's a whole lot of support that we are providing. They do not have to worry about the paperwork, because there is quite a lot of paperwork. When you work with a government institution, there's quite a lot of paperwork that is involved. But we are saying we'll send out someone at no cost to you as the company to actually come and assist you. But then I also want us, before we get to the SME testimonials, I just want us to talk to two issues. Now, in terms of defining an SME, because I think that is quite critical. Different institutions define it differently. So in our case, as CETAs, Mike, what is then, how do we then define an a small company as well as a medium company? How many employees do this company have to be classified under those two categories? What companies are we talking about?
Okay. Well, normally when we refer to SMEs, we refer to any company that employs from 1 employee to 49 employees. So your medium companies normally relates to your companies that employ from 50 to 149 employees. So that's our definition of small and medium companies in the sector.
Okay. No, that's awesome. But also, if I don't have any employee, if I'm a one-man show, I am an SME, right?
Definitely.
And by the way, guys, I think the one thing that we missed our management development programs, because those are very, very important programs that we are running. So, for example, if I'm just a one-man show, and I'm interested in being, developed, or I'm a director, I can also participate in management development programs. We have the retail management development programs that focuses on your junior managers or middle managers, your supervisors and your team leaders, equipping them to be the best leaders. Then we also have our prestigious International Leadership Development Program, where we are taking senior executives. They even go overseas to learn about the best practices of wholesale and retail that we can come and also implement in South Africa, but also share with our international counterparts. George, you were part of that program a few years ago. How was the experience?
It was fantastic.
Yeah?
It was amazing. To also learn the different technologies that are available in the sector, to experience how retail operates in different countries. We went to Ghana, we went to India, we went to the USA, and it was really amazing to be able to do a comparison of how the sector is operating in our country and what is happening out there. And it actually opens up your eyes to understand that there's a whole lot more that we can do, as a sector. And really, we are also looking forward to have people from our small businesses participating in those programs, because we believe that if they participate and when they come back, they can actually implement different things that are going to really improve their businesses. Yeah. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. I hope Dr. Philly is going to touch on that, because she also has been part of that program, and she is, she's running an SMME. So, that's a program that cost about 300,000 rands, and as a company, you get to, it's fully funded, we pay for your travel overseas, locally, for your accommodation, studying at one of the best business schools in South Africa, also internationally. So those are some of the opportunities that I really, really hope that our SMEs that are joining us today are really going to take advantage of. Now, just one more issue, just before we hand over to Dr. Philly. As a new company, so let's say now, Mike, I'm an SME. and I've had all these nice things that you guys are talking about, and I'm deciding it's time that I get onto the system. Then you obviously send through an SLO to come and assist me to put together my Annex 2 documents, which is basically a plan that says, okay, these are my needs as a company. So I identify skills, that I want to be addressed, right? So when do I start getting the money? So as a new participant, I've never participated, but I have been paying, obviously. So when does the money start coming into my bank account?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that the WSP or the Annex 2 must meet the set criteria from the wholesale and retail SETA. And as soon as that workplace skills plan has been evaluated and approved by the SETA, so definitely we will notify the company to say the WSP has been approved. And the system that we use as a SETA is that we pay in tranches. So we break down the mandatory grants in 3 tranches. So the organization will receive their first tranche, because our policy dictates that we need to approve the workplace skills plan within 90 days. So as soon as the workplace skills plan has been approved by the relevant provincial office of the SETA, they will definitely get notification to say the plan has been approved. Right. They'll receive their first mandatory grant in around September, October, and then definitely they will receive the second mandatory grant portion the following year before the end of the last quarter. And definitely will also ensure that they receive their last payment in the last quarter, which is the end of March the following year.
All right, now that's awesome. So now let me hand over to Dr. Phili Malatsi, who is one of our participating companies, to share a story, because I think you've heard all these things good things that we have been talking about. But don't take our word. Listen to someone who has actually been part of the process, and they've got very, very good stories to tell about how they have benefited from the SETA's process. So over to you, Dr. Phili.
Thank you very much, Martha. Good morning, everybody. I am a petroleum retailer based in Tembisa. And we are a very small family-based company. So in 2014, I was first exposed to the WNR SETA through the Fuel Retailers Association, to which we are members. And at the time, they were advertising the International Leadership Development Program. And so I immediately applied and got accepted. And for me, it was such a pivotal, something to get involved in, because I was transitioning from being a full-time dental practitioner into working in full-time in retailing. And at the same time, I was immigrating back to South Africa, basically. And one of the big issues was all the changes that had been happening within the country in the 14 years that I had been away. I found that, through the WNR SETA's program with Gibbs, I was not only exposed to best practice within retailing in South Africa, but I was shown exactly how people with very, very scarce resources make a success of their businesses in Ghana, which we visited, and then later in India, and then China. I was exposed to a style of different styles of management, but what stood up for me, and the one lesson that I really learned that year, was the exposure to the care and growth model with Sketsma. And what that model basically shows is how pivotal it is to make sure that as management and as executive, we need to look after our staff and our team, because once your team is looked after and your team is developed and given more responsibilities, you actually appeal to that within them, which is human nature, to make a difference, to want to contribute positively to the environment, to their communities, and so on. And so when I finished with the ILDP, I was able to go back to our company. And we found that through the various programs that the SETA has available, we first started by taking our middle management through. And all our team leaders and supervisors have had some skills development program or other. And I don't know how, what experience other people have had. But our experience has been that Engine, which is the oil brand that we belong to has its own formal in-house education that it does. And we also pay a lot of money to very different companies to do things that are very specific. But the skills development programs with the SETA made such a profound difference to our team leaders and our supervisors that I found that when we had meetings, people would come there prepared and they'd be bringing back what they've learned from the program to say, you know, this is how we've always done X. And based on what I've learned, these are some of the downfalls in the way we are doing it. And I've actually now learned that as I go around various service stations, whether I'm on holiday or what, I must look and see how the competition is doing it. And those best practices and improvements, bring them to our company. So for us, the skills training programs have really been extraordinary. And what I like is that even if somebody went for the skills training program in 2017, what they've learned becomes a part of them. And it's almost like a gift that keeps on giving. So each time something else happens, they then remember something that, you know what, there's X, Y, and Z that we've also learned on the program, and I'd actually forgotten to bring them up. Maybe this is why X, Y, Z is not working. So it's not the theory, it's the practice that has come into our business and really helped to improve it. Last year, we got involved with the learnership, and that really has changed our back office very significantly. In the past, we've always concentrated on training our executives and our middle management. Last year was the first time where we had our forecourt attendants going on a formal course. So we remember as filling stations, we generally recruit people with a matric off the street, unskilled, and all the training comes from us. And to have all these learners come onto the forecourt and then go off to the various training providers on a 12-month program and then keep coming back with the various things they were learning. I mean, I don't even know how to explain how that has improved things. A lot of those have actually now come off the forecourt, joined our back office, because we found that just leaving them on the forecourt was like almost underutilizing them. Not only have they learned very quickly how we do things, but they very quickly said, Mama, I think the way you do things is a little bit backwards. We need to get everything, on the computer. Stop keeping so many papers. I know it's working, but, and it's so nice when you recruit somebody off the street, unemployed, and then a year later, this very person is improving how you do things. And what I have found is that I tended to, my leadership skill was always very, I like to stand like a mother hen and oversee things. But I found that I've been given the comfort and confidence that our team is so well trained that I'm sitting back a lot more, and it's giving me the opportunity to get involved in other projects, because I haven't just left people, but I've left well-trained people. And I think that's all I had for you this morning, ma'am.
Oh, wow. Thank you so very much for sharing that experience. I know you're a very big advocate of skills development, and it's always so heartwarming to hear you talk about how you are actually benefiting from our various programs. So, Dr. Phila, how small is your small company, by the way?
Our company is very small. There's 45 staff.
Okay.
So it's very small.
Yeah.
And I think of the 45 staff, we've had 2 go through the ILDP.
Right.
We've had about 10 on the skills program, and we've had 12, 13 on the learnerships. So, you can see that quite a lot of our team have been trained through the WNR.
Yes. I'm not even going to ask how the monetary value of all of that. But I think for us, what is important is that it's improving your business, because like you are saying, with skilled people, you are able now to take your hand or the foot off and you are able to focus on other more strategic issues of the business whilst you have other people running your business as well. So yeah, that was very, very, an interesting and an inspiring story from your company. So yeah, thank you so very much for taking your time. I know you are a very busy woman.
I think monetarily, yes, we've saved a lot. But I think in terms of the value you've given us, we cannot put money on it.
Yes. That's what we love to hear. So yes, that was our very first success story. Thank you so much, Dr. Malatsi. Now, let's hand over to Janelle for the second testimonial. Janelle's company, Fruit Co, is all the way in Akonhoek in the Mpumalanga region. So over to you, Janelle. All right, it seems Janelle is not online at the moment. Let's probably just give her another minute to join us. And I've just been given an indication that she's on. Janelle, good morning, and thank you so very much for joining us for this session. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for making time. I know that you are quite busy. It's almost month end, so it's a very busy time for wholesale and retail. It must be very hectic on your side.
Yes, it's very quite hectic on our side, getting ready for month end, so preparation is on its way.
All right. So, Janelle, thank you so much again for joining us. We've invited you to share your journey with the WNR on the skills development side in terms of the programs that you are implementing as Fruit Co. Do you want to take us through that, please?
Yes, it is. I must say this is helping us a lot. Last year we had our first 4 students with us, and I must say it was a great experience. They helped us so much. There's actually no words that can describe the whole thing.
We can still see you, Janelle. Oh, it looks like we've lost you now. Technical, are we able to assist her to get connected? Janelle, please check your phone. We seem to have lost you there. Oh, all right, you are back on. You may continue.
Sorry about that. Our signal is...
Now we've lost the sound. Please check that you are not muted, Janelle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is it's been quite a journey with the students, and I must say we employed the students after a while. After they received their certificate, there's actually 2 students that we employed with our staff, and it's doing great with the other employees. And we have 5 employees that's going to start at the end of April now, and we're looking forward to it.
All right, I think I'm hearing Janelle to be saying that they've got 2 learners that they are currently hosting. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, I think 2.
Yeah, on learnerships. Are they on learnerships?
No, it's a permanent job they got with us. We are quite impressed with all their hard work and everything, and so we decided to give them a permanent job with us.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very awesome. I think that's exactly what I was talking about, to say that, excuse me then, to say that when companies flourish, when they've got skilled people, then they're able to actually help with the issue of unemployment. And I think that's exactly what you are talking about. So when did you start participating in our program? Is it only from last year, April?
2019 we started.
Right.
And yeah, so Mike and Gigi came to see me and we decided to give it a go. And I must say we were quite impressed with the students we got. We only had a half year with them because they were impressed with Pick and Pay. Pick and Pay unfortunately closed down. So they Mike came to see us to see if they can carry on with their learnership with us. And I must say it was the best thing I could do.
Well, you have also assisted us because it is a challenge when, you know, a company is not able to continue with a learnership program for one reason or the other. So we are really grateful that you opened up your company to take them on so that they can actually continue with their program, so that you see them to completion, so that they can have that certificate to be able to enable them to go and look for other employment opportunities, or will be grateful if you employ them. That is always the first choice. So now, in terms of the year ahead, you must be busy with your Annex 2 submissions now. They're due on the 30th of April. So what does your WSP look like? What are your numbers? What programs are you planning to put your employees and possibly unemployed people, the numbers and the kind of programs that you are planning to implement for the next financial year, which starts in April?
Yeah, we're looking forward to them. We're looking 5 new students with us, and yeah, I haven't planned yet where I'm going to place them, but there's a lot of opportunities with us. Especially on the cashiers, I need somebody because I'm opening another show, so I need somebody that I can train on the show, and especially on my business side, there's lots of opportunities that side that can help me. I can benefit with it.
All right, so I'm sure an SLO will be visiting you very soon to come and assist you with that submission. Just maybe as we wrap up, generally, how big is the company in terms of the number of employees that you have?
I've got 20 permanent workers at the moment.
All right. Oh, okay. So it is quite a small company. So, but thank you so very much, Janelle, for joining us this morning to share your experience with the WNR-SETA and the programs that you are participating through us and with the assistance of our Mpumalanga Provincial Office. Thank you so very much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have come to the second last item on our program, which is basically your question and answer. I'm not sure if there are any questions. I'm not seeing anything on the chat box. Is that correct, technical? All right, it looks like we have done a brilliant job, ladies and gentlemen. In just less than an hour. So I would like to invite you to continue interacting with us. You're probably still processing a whole lot of the information that we have shared with us. It is quite a lot, especially if it's your first time hearing about the WNR-SETA. You probably saw that invitation. It was the very first time that you even heard about the WNR-SETA. Now that you know about us, please interact with us. You can reach us on wrceta@wrceta.org.za. You can also call our head office line on 012-622-9500. We should be able to assist you with any queries that you may have, and if not, we are going to direct you to the relevant provincial offices. We've got 10 provincial offices throughout the country. Gauteng has got 2 offices, and in the other regions we've got, or in the other provinces we have 1 office. So the central contacts are the ones that we have, that I have provided. Then we'll be able to link you with our colleagues from the other provincial offices. You can also go onto our website for more information, and our website address is www.wrcita.org.za. Please also join our social media community. We are on Facebook as Wholesale and Retail SETA. We are also on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. So please do join us, and let's continue with the conversation. Thank you so very much for making the time to join us. We really appreciate it. And that is the end of our session this morning. Thank you and goodbye.